City council, I tried to
Utilities Commission?
Yeah, I would say more or less.
That would have been nice.
Something for,
We could do that.
give us a little more ammunition. And,
Your mics are on. I gotta watch it.
come on, Brian.
How's it going? I see you parked a block away to avoid getting run over by a semi again.
I was gonna pull on that second one. I was like, nah, I better go down one.
It was like parked all the way down.
Parks in the middle of the street,
No. He's parked
like on the grass.
down the street.
All right. Okay. You got 20 seconds, man. Enjoy your 20 seconds. I'm gonna Bruce Hawkins this thing. Going right on the clock. All right, it is 8:30. We'll call this meeting of the Utilities Commission for December 7th to order. Clerk may call the roll.
Mr. Salyers,
Here.
Mr. Ball,
Here.
Mr. Reinhardt,
Here.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
Having a quorum present, we'll move now to the approval of the November 2nd minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion is heard. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Commission, you have the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections that need to be made? Hearing none, I'll entertain, okay, we already got that. So clerk may call the roll on that one.
Mr. Salyers,
Yes.
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Mr. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
All right, motion is approved. All right, moving on. All right, adjustment of the November journal. Let's see. Got adjustments and corrections for November 2023. Anybody want to tackle that one?
Motion to approve.
All right,
Second.
got a motion and a second. Any comment on that? Nope. All right, clerk may call the roll.
Mr. Salyers,
Yes,
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Mr. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
motion carries. All right. Moving right along. On to new business. We've got Ron Wilson. Is that right? Mr. Wilson? All right, regarding tap fees. Mr. Wilson, would you like to approach up there? Gonna get you to, for the record, state your name and your address.
Ron Wilson. You want the addresses there or my home address?
A home address.
Okay, 704 North Sandusky Street.
All right, and you're referring to the address at,
404 West Gambier Street.
okay. All right, plead your case.
Okay, last month, my tap fees were denied to be refunded to me. I don't know why. So they told me to come to the meeting today. If I would have known I had to hook up the sewer first, I wouldn't have paid the water fee. I was told that after the tap fee. And it's going to be at least a year before I get the water. So I'd like to have that money refunded to me so I could take care of the other business stuff I have to take care of down there, like the sewer, running the sewer line first. So that's where I'm at on that.
All right. What was the total on that?
It's 58, 50, something like that. I'm not sure right off the top of my head.
Brad has it.
Oh. I can't see. 58, 46, 53.
Minus the $75, of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Any comment from the committee?
But I'd like to, if somebody could explain what he just had mentioned.
All right.
So he's required to do sewer first before he does the water?
1 second, Mr. Miller. Can we note that Mrs. Busenberg has shown up? All right.
Yes. So after issuing the tap, they were trying to find the sewer, and it turns out that it has a septic tank, which is not in acceptable condition. So we did not realize that at the time of the water tap. But when they were trying to figure out where to tap the water, we realized there was no sewer connection. So he can't have the water even connected without getting the sewer taken care of because of his proximity to the river and the condition of the septic facilities.
Okay, so yeah, this is, because this is information, that's why it's good that you came in, because we didn't have this a
Right.
month ago.
Right.
So the plan is you're wanting the money back to use to get your sewer problem fixed.
That
And
is
you get connected to the sewer, and then you'll come back and do water. But
correct.
that'll take roughly a year or so.
At least, yes.
Okay, but that's the plan, is to
Yes.
get connected to city
Yes.
sewer and water.
Correct.
Okay.
My recollection is a major part of why it was denied was we didn't have a lot of information in front of us. Yeah, yeah. So, Brad, do you have a comment? No?
I would move to approve the requested refund.
Second?
Second. So we've got a motion with the second. Any other further comment? Hearing none. Clerk may call the roll.
Mr. Sayers?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Reinhardt?
Yes?
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
All
Right,
right.
I think you have a process for refunds, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll work directly with Brad to get that processed.
What's that?
I have your number. We'll
Okay.
get it.
All right.
All right.
Is that all?
That's all.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in, we appreciate it.
All right, next on new business is the additional staffing proposal. I'm going to turn this over to Director Reinhardt to walk us through this nice little flow chart.
Everybody in front of them has this piece of paper. It's kind of each department and what we're projecting to do. Here at the wastewater plant, you can see we have 9 positions now. We need 8 operation and maintenance. We would like to create 1 chief operator. Total expense to do that is going to be $1,226.60. That one's pretty simple, because we already have them 9 positions. We just want to create chief operator. It would give us redundancy. The assistant director could do the chief's job, vice versa. Chief could do the assistant director job. Lab job, chief could do any job underneath. That's that one. We can get our fats, oil, and grease program going again. Right now, we're just kind of checking the boxes on our pre-treatment, our biosolids, dental anagram, and oil water separators. We could delve more into those, do a better permitting process. Continued modernization of the treatment plant, employee development and retention, and the biggest one is facility redundancy. We don't have a whole lot of redundancy.
All right, so
That's at the wastewater
Let me
treatment plant.
can I ask a question on that one?
Yes.
How do you get, so I know that when this goes forward to city council, they're gonna ask how you get this additional cost factor. Are we eliminating a job or?
We have 9 operation and maintenance now. At the new structure, we'll only require 8,
Okay.
so we will promote one of those operators now
This is the new
to
part.
that, to
Okay.
that position.
So then the person would be, you're trading a union job for a non-union job.
It would still be union.
It still would be union. Okay, great. That's awesome. Thank you.
Then
on
the,
to the water.
I like the color coding, by the way.
Yeah.
Note that in the minutes. Color coding is awesome.
the next is the water treatment plant. Here we're proposing to add a assistant director of the facility.
I would also like to note that the wastewater was green and not brown, so I am disappointed, but I'll allow it to move forward.
Some days it is, some
Yeah,
days it
yeah.
isn't.
The other position would be a lab position, be an operation and maintenance 3 position, which is a class 2. We just want to emulate what's over at the wastewater plant. Back when we were going through restructuring with the previous director, this one kind of got,
It ran out of steam or ran out of time.
ran out of steam time. To add the AD of the water treatment plant would be approximately $111,566.64. To promote one of the operators now to the lab position and then replace them would cost approximately $77,036.57. And there again, on the water side, implementation of our backflow program, we need to get that back up and running and reinstated. Update and keep current our emergency response plan, contingency plan, source water plan, asset management plans. With our shortage in staff, those plans have kind of fell to the wayside. Continual modernization of the treatment plant. There's a lot of projects going in there. We're pulling the drive on the clarifier. We're on the lime silo project right now. We're updating our SCADA with gray matter. So there's a lot of things going on out there. And then employee development and retention, and again, their facility redundancy.
So one thing you don't see in the numbers is that, you know, the group of folks we have at the water plant are, and in conjunction with distribution and collection, are doing a lot of these projects. So when I started, we basically, everything came through council, went out to bid, it went through engineering. Those projects are typically a lot more expensive because you're paying prevailing wages, you're paying contractor mobilization, profit, bond, and insurance. When we're able to take care of like the recar panels, we ordered those, they came in a box and the guys installed them. We didn't hire a contractor to do that. So it's hard to quantify the savings by the fact that we have a really good group of people self-performing, you know, hundreds if not millions of dollars worth of work. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. So,
And to go along with that, our SCADA upgrade, Josh and Dave they're rewiring our control panels. A lot of that is being done in-house, which is
When we were out there, you said that was, who were you working with, or they were working with you?
yeah, gray matter.
Gray matter.
Right, great,
Mhm.
yep.
You know, that significant project is,
right.
I mean, wow.
They're saving
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of dollars by doing that in-house.
And the security of that too.
Yeah.
Right, because the other thing, yeah, good point. Tanner, you bring up a good point. It's like, you know, if we had, you know, just a regular communications company has turnover in staff working on our system, we wouldn't, you know, having a consistent group of people that are city employees provides a lot better security situation for us, that there aren't just random workers in and out. The gray matter is the same people. They have, you know, and they're more of an engineering firm, not a construction firm. So it's important.
And what we're after is at the end of the day, we don't have a black box that we don't know what's in it. You have to call the company every time you have a little glitch. Gray matter takes a totally different approach to that. They want you to be involved in the process and know how to do this. Down the road, a lot of the stuff Josh will be able to do himself.
Yeah.
So,
Because we started with a black box. Windows 98 box.
In German, right? Yeah.
So yeah, we're moving on from that. So this is exciting. So it is a little bit more money, but in the big picture of the utility, it's still probably a savings.
and we're just, between the two plants, we're bringing the water plant to the organizational chart we have at the wastewater plant, which is working very well.
All right. Distribution collection.
Yep, next one is distribution collections. We're proposing to add a crew chief for meters. As you can see now, we have an assistant director with 2 crew chiefs that run our distribution and collection crews, which works out very well. Josh can manage, our assistant director can manage what each crew's doing. Kind of the shortfall we have, there's the crew chief for meters. There's really nobody to delegate, okay, here's our plan of attack, and this is what we're gonna go. So they're better customer service and coordination. We can complete our meter change out, which has started several years. Ability to follow up on non-responsive meters. There's a program we can get, the census analytics. We can get in there and see what meters are communicating on any given day, and then we can send the guys out. What's our number this week, Brad?
I don't have the weekly, but I think we got from 181 down to 130 or something like that. So it's dwindling, but slowly.
Yes, we still have 130 meters that we're not communicating with, and haven't for some time.
Yeah, some of them 18 months and plus now.
Yeah. So, and they're also complete redundancy, or create department redundancy. That way, when we have one person leave, the whole thing doesn't come down like a house. Everybody shares, everybody can do everybody else's job.
Yeah, I mean, as we've transitioned through the last, two folks, we were still relying on one of our retired guys to, stop in and help us find stuff because don't have these meters geolocated. Going through the Heartland Commerce Park, they're in ceiling tiles, and we had to bring back retired people to help us, and we don't have any way to legally pay them. So it's difficult because most of the folks, when you're in the meter department, you're a senior person because you have the experience, you know the system, but then they're also end up being close to retirement, so we lose that. We have that brain drain, and since 2016, we've tried to create a way to geolocate the meters, and it just ends up being too much for the two folks that are doing the job. We're trying to do some of that now with interns, and then we've done a lot of the meter change out with interns, but then we don't retain that information. Those folks go off to other jobs or back to college, depending on whether it's summer hire or an intern, and we lose that data, so lose that knowledge. So I think this is very important, and I fully support it. The other thing that folks need to remember is the meter is the cash register for both water and wastewater. So if we don't have these working, I mean, we have people that, hey, when this meter gets read and we finally find it, they might owe us $10,000-$20,000, and it's going to be really hard to collect that in a fair manner when we haven't been reading the meter for 18 months.
So again, the utility is required to be self-sustaining, self-funding. And we've been operating, good leadership, we've been operating at a rate that we can afford to do this. And if we don't do something like this, we put the city and the utility at a significant liability, particularly, not only with the EPA, but this is a piece of critical infrastructure. If you want to talk about a cataclysmic failure, if something collapses over there and we don't have that source water protection asset management plan, what are we doing? So this is a big step toward making sure that we protect that critical piece of our infrastructure. That's what people expect us to do. So take care of the people that take care of the people, right? So what we are looking for today, correct me if I'm wrong here, is a sort of an endorsement of this plan as it goes before City Council, because the anticipation is to put it on the 11th. Mr. Ruckman?
We need to talk about the last page. Yeah, we have one more
Catch last
page.
page.
Oh,
Yeah, one more page.
okay.
Then on the last page, which is red, this is a new position. It'd be the Assistant Director of Plant Maintenance.
Oh, sorry.
As it is, we're structured now, we have 2 maintenance positions at each plant. What we need to do is have one person that can oversee all that. We have several inconsistencies at plants. One plant's using this person as a contractor, the other one's using this person as a contractor. Same thing. Get the consistency. Probably the biggest one is development and implementation of a preventative maintenance program. We really don't have anything like that right now. It's kind of, we fix it when it breaks. Consistency between our 2 plants I mentioned. Development and implementation of a work order system, so our operators can tell the maintenance crews what's breaking at the plant. And development and implementation of asset inventories. For the water plant, the EPA requires us to have a asset list. It dates everything, so we know when about the time it's going to fail. That is one plan at the water plant we do not currently have. It could cause trouble down the road.
And we also, any day, the EPA could mandate it for the wastewater plant. So we have the framework in place at the water plant. These folks would know how to do it. And you would also be able to start that process early. They will mandate the same thing for the wastewater plant.
And then we can start cross-training. As of now, our maintenance guy at the wastewater, or water plant is the only one that knows what we're doing with the SCADA. There's no cross-training on that. This would enable us to cross-train a couple people into that. So, cover us for down the road.
And this would also go for the satellite assets like the water towers and the pump stations and the sewage lift stations. So it's not maintenance. When we say maintenance, includes some of those physical facilities that are outside the plant. And there would be some interaction with the distribution and collection, which Aaron's done a great job at. It's like, hey, we need to dig a hole at the water plant. Well, the one maintenance guy isn't able to do that by himself. Instead of hiring a contractor, we're bringing the distribution and collection team into the plant, which traditionally did not happen.
Which I would assume is a savings in and of itself, where you're not having to bring
Yes.
somebody from the outside in. I mean, that's
Yep.
almost always going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
So,
You know, examples are our recar base and the valves had an exercise, which they were both broke. So distribution and collection come in and replaced one and ordered another one. They came in, redid that. That was substantial cost savings. It's easier to coordinate because we had to shut the plant down on the second one to accomplish that. Worked out very well.
I just have a couple things. First, you know, I've been in the community since '94, so I appreciate the fact that there are many city employees that have been holding things together, particularly at the water and sewer treatment plants, along with many other aspects of city government and maintenance programs, be it roads, waters, parks, or whatever. So I think as part of this committee as being responsible, and also with city council responsibility, public safety as far as healthy, safe drinking water, redundancy built into that is a great thing. Having plans to have people pay attention to what things might break before they break is a huge health and safety issue, along with convenience. Nothing's worse than waking up in the morning and go to work and you have no water. And you want to take a shower and get ready to go to work and you got 6 kids to go to school. And
Or 7.
7, some, yes. So redundancy, and a couple of programs that were stopped for some reason or another to be started back up. Like you mentioned, the fats and oils and grease program and the backflow program. That's pretty important. I can remember people having, in certain parts of the city, having a lot of problems and issues with sewage showing up in their basement unexpectedly. I know some of those people. But I think some of the biggest things are redundancy of people being able to do jobs when people are on vacation, sick, or somebody retires or moves on. And I think we've not had that for a while. So I think it's a good plan. I would make a motion that we accept it and move it on to city council.
Have a motion?
Great. I will second the motion.
Second. Any more discussion on the motion? Nope. Hearing none. Clerk may call the roll.
Mr. Sires,
Yes.
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Mr. Reinhardt,
Yes?
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next, we got a construction contract for rehabilitation of certain sanity lift stations. The worst indie band name ever proposed.
Sanitary lift stations. But we
Oh,
say
sanity.
Yeah,
Sanity lift
This
station.
time of year, there's no sanity clause in the organization.
All right, what do we got?
Okay, so again, this is a project that we kind of kicked off this year with our maintenance folks at the wastewater plant, and we were working off some older estimates. So I believe, I'll look at Aaron, we've ordered a lot of these parts. We haven't. Okay, so we were believing that this could just be a maintenance type project. And then when we went to place the orders, we realized that the equipment exceeded our procurement authorization limit of, I believe it's now $75,000. So we haven't gotten this. This is a project we've been trying to start for a couple years. The prices keep going up. We are not allowed to purchase these without going out to bid or doing procurement through city council. So this basically is a request to move this project to city council for authorization to do the procurement. And then I believe we are planning to use some staff for this work, right? It's mainly to get the equipment, the parts So the lift stations are there, the sewage lift stations are there. They're getting, we've done a healthcare assessment on them. There are components getting to end of life, so this is a sort of a like kind replacement. But now the parts are more expensive than we can just order through our regular processes. Hopefully I explained it. So there's a partnership between engineering and the wastewater plant, so we'll create the documents to do the procurement.
Thoughts, comments?
No, what was the normal, these costs have elevated to where, what was your normal way of doing stuff that you
What
can't
did-
do that anymore?
We thought they were,
Our initial quote, this kind of out of the ballpark, she was thinking about 25, 30,000. And with what we're wanting to do and where we're going, it was, I think, the initial quote with us doing a majority of the work, other than the heavy stuff, was 80,000.
yeah, so part of it is, as we looked at it, it's like, hey, we should probably buy something that's slightly better than what was there before, because we're seeing, like, if you take the lift station that is behind the jail, it's receiving toothbrushes and debris. So some of the upgrades are like, well, if we buy a slightly better component, there will be less trips to go work on it.
Okay,
And then that and the increase in the pricing is, we can't really buy any of the parts without going through the a formal procurement process.
okay.
Just being newer to this, could you explain how that procurement process works? I'm familiar with it in other governmental entities, but how do you guys go through that for
So-
just supplies?
So for the, like, I think it's on, you may have some of it on for council now, but like, we have like a multi-year contract for water meters and pipe that we get authorization from council and we bid that. Then like for the plant, if say the maintenance guy needs a 100 horsepower electric motor, they would just, if it's under $75,000, we can do direct procurement. And so we budget every year so much money for each department's maintenance, and then they buy stuff. But then because the state just changed the law, it used to be 50,000, and I believe
We lifted it to 75.
the state moved it to 75 in October. But even with that, so after that, we have to have authority from city council, so we can do a sole source procurement, we can do qualification-based selection, we can go through a cooperative purchase agreement like ODOT or Sourcewell or Roof Connect, or we can bid. So put it out for competitive bid. So we have those basic 4 options through the state and the city council code. But everybody's a little bit different. Different agencies and different governments have different procurement limits. So ours is, again, would be 75. So what we're, to get any of this really moving, we would be exceeding that 75,000 and it would be just buying half of the parts for a station, and it would be silly. We don't want to. We would be bending the rules, and it would be silly to take that approach. So we would like to just bring it as a project to city council.
Thank you.
I would make a motion that we move this forward to city council for hopefully for their approval.
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk may call the roll.
Mr. Sires,
Yes.
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Mr. Reinhardt,
Yes?
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, we have a elimination of elimination of service availability fees for water and wastewater.
Great. I don't know that we're ready to act on this, but we do want to give kind of an update. Brad and Quentin have been kind of working through a full utility billing audit, and we, particularly with the water service availability fees, we are not bringing in very much money with those, and they're not, as far as we can tell, they're not fairly applied. And it seems that it's something that the city council has repeatedly asked us to look into eliminating these. So we're working through that. We feel that, I don't know, maybe you have newer numbers, but maybe $1,000 a month for water. And then as we look through the wastewater availability, most of the people were already hooked up. So it wasn't meaningful anyway. So we're still working on that analytics. So we will be drafting some suggested changes. These are codified in city ordinance. We'll be bringing some suggested code changes to the Utility Commission to review for City Council probably in early '24, with the effect that we understand the economic effect on the utility by eliminating that revenue source. For the wastewater, we do need to coordinate a little bit with the health department, and because that is an incentive to get people to eliminate septic tanks. So will be a little bit more work on the wastewater side.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right. Moving on, we will look at current shut-off fee discussion. I think, Brad, you're going to explain the exhibits we've got here.
So, I wanted to explain a little bit about the process that the billing office goes through for shutoffs. And then the thing I want to mention is that we don't actually have anything in rules and regulations that specifically call out how we run this operation, right? Right now, it's just the practice. So it is in the rules that the fee gets applied, but not the timing or how it's operated. So over the years, I think things have changed throughout the office depending on who's over there, because there's not a lot of guidance. So what I wanted to start was conversation about how we should be applying that fee, and maybe get that written in as a process to rules and regulations so that we can continue to follow it the same no matter who's in the office. Okay. So the way we handle it right now is $40 fee is applied if you make the shutoff list, right? Now this is water only at this point. So it's not defined as a shutoff fee. It is a non-payment fee. So the first thing that happens is if you don't make your bill by the 15th of the month, there's a 10% fee applied. Okay, and it's a late fee. We've extended that with I think almost 2 years ago now, where it's 2 months. So you get your first month 10%. You still don't pay your bill. You get to your second month, 10% gets applied. Okay, so after the month bill, after our monthly process runs for the second month, then the bills are due 15th. The next bill rolls out. The notes on the bill saying that we shut off a certain day of the month. That's what's calculated as the first Tuesday after the first Friday, which it gets a little confusing, but that's to give people enough time to make their payment and to give us enough time after our billing process to start our shut-off list, right? Because it's not something that gets systematically generated. We have to actually do it by hand. So there's a lot of process happening. I know that's a lot said. It's very confusing, which is another reason why it'd be kind of helpful to have that written down. But essentially, the $40 fee gets applied the first day of 2 shut-off days. Okay, it's usually between, we'll say, the 5th and 10th of the month, right? It just depends on how the month falls. Once the fee is applied in the morning, so for instance, this week was a shut-off week. Tuesday and Wednesday is always when we do shut-offs. It gives us Monday to finish processing, and then we turn people off in the morning of Tuesday, and then back on in the afternoon. So the first half of the list, theoretically gets shut off, and then after lunchtime we start turning them back on if they've made their payments. Okay. Second day we repeat that process with the second half of the list. But regardless of whether you make it to us and make your payment, that $40 fee has been applied, right? It gets applied before we set out on the day of shut off. We get a lot of kickback from that, which we explain that it's not a fee for turning off your water and turning it back on. It is because you didn't make your payment, right? And you've had 2 months to settle that. And we do have a considerable amount of people that stay behind, which creates more difficulty if they're struggling to pay. So that's kind of how the process is. Do you guys have any questions about that before I go into a little bit more detail? I know it's confusing. I apologize for that.
I think just to clarify, it's the meter readers who are physically doing the shut off.
That's
right?
correct. Yeah. The billing office does all the calculations, manually adjusts the list because our software doesn't collect everything correctly, right? And then that $40 fee actually doesn't get applied to the due balance, so we have to calculate that by hand every time somebody comes in. It's not a fun process for us.
Right. There's a lot of work
A lot of work.
with two groups. You have office staff and field staff doing it.
It's very busy for both.
So roughly, you don't pay the first month 10% fee, 10% late fee.
Yep.
It goes into the second month, there's an additional 10% late fee.
Yes, and that
On that-
10% is only on the balance for that month. So
Only on the balance for the month, so it's
Correct.
not an overall compounded balance of
Correct.
the 2 months.
Yes.
And then, if they don't pay it in the second month, a week or so later, so really you've got 2.5 months to catch up on your water bill, roughly.
Yes.
And then, once it's been determined that it's gonna get shut off, and they haven't paid their bill, that's when the $40 non-payment comes in.
Yes. And
So,
it gets
okay.
applied like
very
before
end.
we open the office in the morning. So you have to
Yep.
have your payment in the Dropbox before we open, or it gets applied.
And you have already planned for shutting off and turning on, because you have a number of people that once they get all of this notification, they run in to make payment plans, or they run in to pay the bill.
We don't have an option for payment plans, so they have to
Okay.
pay. They have
they
to
have to
pay
pay it
the
up.
due balance before we apply the $40 fee.
But you already have a plan as the city for turning on water, because you know people do this.
Correct.
Okay.
So, just so I'm tracking with you. So if you don't pay in January, you gotta pay, and let's just say it's a $60 bill.
Yep. That's a good assumption.
All right. So you've got a $60 bill in January, and then you've got a 10% late fee.
Correct.
So
$6.
so you're $66. All right. And then you have a
And-
non-payment fee.
So there's no non-payment fee for 1 month behind. So you would go a
there's-
whole
all right.
another month.
So then you have another February bill because you haven't paid January. So you got another $60. Okay.
Correct.
So now you're at what, 126, right?
Yep.
And then you have another 10% on
The
February.
$60. Correct.
All right, okay.
Another $6.
So another $6. So then you're looking at 132, and then you get hit with the $40 because it's 2 months.
If you still have
If you still
until
have
the
until-
shut-off day to pay that. So we've stretched it
Into
out as
March.
far as we can to
I
help
just
people.
want to understand at
Yep.
what point. All right. So, and we're assuming I'm just gonna classify who typically would fall into this. So this is a struggling family. Let's look at when this particular scenario is happening. It's right after the holiday. All right. So, because I want to put worst case scenario, why are we doing this, right? So then we're going to slap on the 40 after the February instance into March, right?
Yes, that $40 fee is actually applied to the January bill.
Got it. All right. So at what point are we shutting off the water?
Where after the $40 fee is applied is shut-off day. So that's when the
What
start
date?
when?
What date would that be?
Yeah.
Okay,
haven't
so
paid January.
well, I'd have to
Haven't
look at
paid
the
in
exact
January.
calendar, but
Now
it's going
that-
to be first, second week
Of
Of
March.
February.
of
Of March. Okay.
Yes.
So now they've racked up a 172 in this fictitious situation. They've racked up a $172 water bill. What would they need to pay to get the water back on?
They would need to pay their
Just-
$66 plus the
60
$40
All right.
non-payment fee. That would get them turned back on.
But
they-
they're still in the hole from February.
So they just need to pay that first bill that triggered this,
Yes.
and the $40 fee.
Yes.
So then they're in the queue almost automatically for the next.
And they
for the
stay,
next-
and many
so
of them stay
you're
there.
constantly behind.
Right.
Yep.
Now, there are several things that we have, there's the 3 providers that do help out with people that are struggling with their utility bill. And
Sure.
we don't really, we don't work directly with them, but we do hand out their number for them to contact, and we do take pledges. So if they were to call us and tell us that they'll pledge for the bill, we write that down, we put it in their file, and then we go ahead and turn their water back on.
Have they ever expressed interest? Who are those 3?
Well, we have our own kind of starting, which is
Sure.
Salvation Army. So we actually have a roundup situation that Christy Goldner started when she was in the
Correct.
office.
Yep.
And that's basically where people can round up to the nearest dollar. That money gets put into an account here at the city.
How do we let Mount Vernon know about that?
We have sent it out with all the bills.
Okay.
I believe it was posted on our website and I think Facebook.
Okay.
So it was sent out. We probably could continue doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't gotten a lot of traction so far. I think
Sure.
there's maybe $30 in that fund right now.
All right.
So it's growing slowly.
Yeah, not gonna help a lot. Yeah.
Then recently, Job and Family Services has showed us interest, so we've had some people go there. NoHoCo also does it, and then I think actual St. Vincent actually sometimes will help out.
Okay.
And is there interchurch? So there's actually 4 now that
Okay.
we are working with the Salvation Army.
Good.
So there, and we recommend that to people. You know, give them a call, see what they'll do for you, and we get every month we get pledges, many of them. So.
Is there a check box on the water bill? And could we include that?
A checkbox on the
So
water.
like if somebody wanted to opt into the Roundup system, how
there's-
does somebody,
There's a form, but you could email us and we can add it. So
Okay.
there is a form.
I feel like knowing how generous the people of Mount Vernon are,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if we reduce barriers for people to join into the Roundup system, more people will join into the Roundup system.
Right. Yeah. We'll look into
Yeah.
how we can get that out there a bit more.
Now, I know that a lot of that's probably out of the billing office's hands because we don't.
Well, we can add it to the bill and leave it on there monthly.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a problem. So we can keep that on there. We've had it a couple of times, but we can keep it on there. We told everybody we're getting ready for it. We told them it was live.
Yeah.
We had it on Facebook. I don't know that it's still there. Maybe we should refresh it.
We can make that a more routine thing, and also particularly around the holidays, and particularly if it's a thing where people can, do, I have an ACH system where it just automatically pulls. If there was a box that I could just,
Yeah.
round it up every month,
Right.
I wouldn't even notice.
Yeah, a box idea on the bill for people that's prominent, that's, just when you go to Kroger's or
Help your
anywhere else
neighbor.
you go,
Yep.
you're always asked, you want around McDonald's?
McDonald's asked me, and I just say yes to get them to get through the line.
So we can. So I like the
Take my money,
checkbox.
just
Yeah.
move me along.
I like the checkbox idea, but we do process those payments manually. So
Yeah, okay.
we would, we do thousands of those a month,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Fix
I
it
would
all.
be a little concerned that we might miss some of that because of the way our paperwork works.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I think the majority of people that are consistent payers that probably would, my personal opinion, would be likely to do that are probably on auto pay.
Sure.
So you have to kind of break their cycle and let them know that this is a change, because many of them don't look at their bill if they're on auto pay.
All right.
So communication on bills, I don't believe is super effective. So we should probably look at other avenues to get that information out there.
Sure. Also, fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I often throw it away.
Yeah.
Silly, we
Look
have
at you,
auto pay for the water bill?
shoving it down my own throat.
We have like 6 different ways you can pay your bill.
I'll have to read that.
Yeah.
We have a free version auto pay, which is where we actually work with Park National and we do an ACH deduction from your account on the 15th of the month, right? And that one's free. There's no charge. You can also have no charge by sending check by mail, dropping check off in cash. Any card transactions, any credit card transactions are through a third party. The third party charges 3% and a minimum of
charging it.
$1.95.
Okay.
We don't get that money. That is the provider's
Processing
service.
fee.
Processing.
Yep.
Yep. And that's
a
everywhere.
clearinghouse. Yep.
A misnomer that people don't understand.
Yeah,
is
we have
that-
to explain that often. They get very upset.
That's
but-
often, that's the same way at a restaurant. It's just built into the price. So,
Yep, which we're not legally
Yeah.
allowed to do, as far as I understand.
Correct.
So,
Welcome to
yeah,
government.
I try to explain that as much as I can, but we also, through that credit card payment service, which is online, it's the same. We use the same provider in the office as we do for our online payments. They offer telephone call or telephone payments. They also take web payments, and you can set up auto pay through web payments through Invoice Cloud, which is our provider. But there's a 3% charge with that.
So then like when my bank, because I'm not Park Bank, and I just pay that electronically from my bank. Is there a 3% charge?
No.
My bank's not charging you guys
Okay.
or anybody anything, right?
So to clarify, if
Yeah.
you do an ACH through our online payment, yes, there's a 3% fee. If you do it through what we call SurePay, which is our in-office through Park National, so you don't have to be banking with Park National. Park National just
Okay.
pulls that. They act as our
Okay.
clearinghouse, so
Okay.
to speak, right?
All right.
And there's no charge to the city, so we don't pass any charge on to the community.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking that I wouldn't want to have the city
Yeah, we
be
don't
short
mark,
3% if something's not right.
yeah,
Well,
we don't mark anything up. All payments are at the
that they are.
cost.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So there's a couple of things, and we don't have to answer these questions now, but there's a couple of things that I wanted to bring up that we often get asked. So I spent 10 minutes on a phone with an angry customer on Tuesday. And we get the same questions over and over again. So I would like to try to clarify that and get it written in rules and regulations, and then maybe do a couple of information packets that we send out, because we have new people at the city. People don't read our rules and regulations, right? So I want to try to get information that's important, that is a common issue for our customers, out to them on a regular basis. So I would like to put that in rules and make it official so that I can do that confidently. Okay. And some of the things that the office is not even sure about, just because over time practice has changed. When should the $40 fee be applied, right? And I believe that our current practice is probably the best way. We spend a lot of time getting the shut-off list ready, the whole week before almost, and some before that, because a lot of times we have to track things down manually. Once that list is completed and done, it takes a lot of work for us to go back and reverse those things, right? So I think once that's applied, we do one last check, which is still a courtesy, on the morning before we open up for any drop box payments. The fee gets applied after that process happens, right? And I think that that's as fair as we can be as far as when we apply that. This person that I spent time on the phone with had came in and paid a 30, right? So it's still in the morning. They had almost 2.5 months to pay that, but they're upset that they paid it on the day before their water was shut off, and they still got the $40 fee, right? But we have to draw the line somewhere,
Yes.
and I think that we've drawn it in the right place. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page there, and then I would like to make that official by kind of updating rules and regulations, if you guys are okay with that. And again, we can think about that for a while and make a decision next month maybe. It's the current practice. It's just not written that way.
Can we have just, I guess you gotta make a motion first before you have discussion. Can we discuss first?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
should
we
do
can
that.
discuss.
I think this has been common practice. I think everybody knows it. I think it should be written down in policy. I'm fine with how it is to go ahead and go forward and putting this in official city policy, so every employee or staff person, even in the future, unless it changes, knows this is when it's done. Because, currently, $40, I know it's not a lot. I understand if you're struggling, it can be. But we're giving people 2.5 months to catch up. And you got 2.5 months, 2 months before the $40 even is applied. The city is planning time already to turn stuff back on for people that they already know are going to catch up.
Right.
So I think, to me, it sounds like a pretty fair policy that's been in effect for a long time.
Right.
And so I don't know if we need to I hate putting stuff off if there's no need to.
So I do want to follow up here. So in my little scenario here, so the person doesn't pay in January, they don't pay in February, then there's a shut-off situation in March, but then they show up in March and they pay the $40 fee, which is actually for January, right?
Correct.
Okay. But they're still in the queue for shut-off from February because they haven't paid then, right?
Correct.
Okay. Is another $40 fee applied because there's non-payment in February?
Not until the 2.5 months hits, not until shut off hits for the
So-
following month.
So
Next
they,
month,
even though,
Chris.
right, so even though they've paid to avoid a shut-off from the non-payment in January, they now don't have the money to pay because they paid the $40 fee. They don't have the money to pay in February or for February's bill, so they don't pay in March for February.
Correct.
All right.
That's
So
very
then
common.
they, right. This is,
That's the problem.
this is the concern I am not advocating for eliminating, I mean, we do need a little bit of a stick to get people to pay their bill. But simultaneously, it's oftentimes the stick that we're applying is to the people that want to pay their bill, but they don't have the money to pay their bill.
I think what I say is that we want people to prioritize this payment.
Right.
They're paying for things,
Sure.
but we want them,
Yeah.
as our stick gets smaller compared to other sticks, they prioritize other
So,
Other
things.
things.
so there's also some change discussion as well that we've been working on that I would like to talk about a bit before we go into this fully, because
So if I could clarify, if there is a way for us to maintain this, but offer an avenue for people not to get stuck on the, cycle, that make sense?
I understand what you're saying, because this is similar to B&B reinstatement fees.
Yeah. Then, well, I paid to get out of it, but now I'm in this doom loop where I
Yes.
can't, I
So-
will always be here.
So one thing, I agree with your thought process, right?
Yeah.
Because I see it every day. We actually, Mr. Marshall, when he was in town, right, he
He
actually.
who must not be named. Yes.
Sorry, I said Mr. So we actually added a month to that process.
Okay.
So we gave people an additional month to make their payment, and what it did was actually created, I think, more problems.
Right.
So we want to be careful.
Well, no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and I think it helped for a bit, give people a little breathing room. But
Sure.
I think I have to go back. To we've never really kept analytics on this process and what the effect is, right?
Sure.
So I've done 2023. I have it. I'd like to pull it up and show you guys for our next discussion, which I could bring it up now if you like. But I would like to go back and look at previous years if I can get that information, that data, and see what that actual impact was. Like, are the same people in the same situation, or did it change?
Right.
Without doing that analytics, we're left to assume and try to guess, which is not my favorite thing to do. I mean, we see it, we have an estimation, but we don't really know what's happening. It's tough to.
You hear this a lot when it comes with poverty and generational poverty. Is like, oh, these people just want to take advantage of the system, or or why are they buying their cigarettes and not paying their water bill, or something like. I mean, you hear these tropes all the time.
Right.
But like you said, we do that based on assumption and not. There's no hard data.
Right.
So I really appreciate the effort to, my family's been in this situation before.
Right.
Where you get stuck in a impoverished cycle, and well, I paid it, but I only have X amount of money to spend on a water bill, and you took 40 of it to pay for a late fee. It's not like I didn't know that I needed to pay the water bill.
Right.
So if there is a way, if there is a 10-day period, I'm just making this up right now, but if there's a 10-day period where you give people an opportunity to come in, and if they've sold a family dog, I don't know, whatever they need to do, but not recommending that either. But do what you got to do to get in there and get out of that cycle. And we have taken the effort to come in and find through Salvation Army, through our city plan, to try to help cover that gap.
Yeah.
But
I think that most of the people that actually do get that help end up back on the list. But again, that's my opinion, and I haven't
Right.
actually verified that yet. Which
and you may be right.
I would like to do that.
Right. But when we, as the government, stand up and say, "Hey, the people that we give the help to end up right back on the list," I would like to be able to, and the mayor, I know the mayor would love this information, would like to be able to, and we have the data to prove it. Because without it, we're just like, these darn people.
Right.
And then we join the chorus of people that have said this crap
I
for
agree.
years.
Yes. Yeah.
So if we can put that, if we can put the hard numbers behind it, then I think we're justified in doing whatever we want.
Okay.
Well, not
I'll
whatever
continue
we
to work
want,
on
but-
those numbers for previous years and get back to before
Let
some
them
of our
make cake.
changes happened.
But-
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea, Brad.
Okay.
You can put stuff together for the future committee to make
Yeah.
a decision.
Okay.
And I think,
And
judging the finger in the water here, there are so many puns when it comes to utilities. I just want to say
Yes.
that. But I feel like this commission is pretty willing to, get that in writing, and
Yes.
Miller over there's chomping at the bit. So
Right.
yeah,
I just hate having staff left out in the wings,
Yeah.
because it breeds more complaining and it breeds more distrust of government when you have wishy-washiness of,
Right.
well, this guy last week said this, and if you had it in writing, you could go back and say, wait a second, you told somebody wrong here, don't do that again.
right.
That's all, I just don't like staff being stuck out there.
And
I've
when
been
we get it in writing, we can get it out into the public.
Yes.
And when the public knows, they can be like, "Hey, man, them's the rules."
Yeah.
Right. That would be helpful for our office
Yeah.
because we catch the grief like we're personally the ones that went out and turned
Yeah.
off their water and are laughing about it. That's not at all the situation. We don't want to do the process at all. So
No, we do not
So we
want to
catch
turn
a-
off anyone's water. It's so, yeah.
It's a
Or
very
encourage you to
stressful,
sell the family dog.
very very stressful couple of days over the week. And if you guys would like to join us, and
Yeah. We would not, but
it's-
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so I have a couple more questions, and they're all related. Before we continue, the non-payment fee, right, that gets applied. You mentioned you hit right on it that fee is going to continue to keep hitting if they don't get ahead of time, right, ahead of it. So we have people that do. They pay the $40 fee every single month. the question is, we have accounts that will get ignored, right? So a purchaser from out of town, maybe just to throw a scenario out there, buys a property. They don't realize that they have a minimum bill, regardless of whether they ask for it or not. It goes to the property. We have a minimum bill charge. So does that $40 fee get applied to that person the same as it does somebody that's struggling to make their payments? And does it stack? Because in practice, we would make a decision. Somebody in the office would make a decision of, well, they're never going to pay it, so we'll stop applying the fee, right? I don't think that that's fair. I think that the fee either gets applied or it doesn't get applied. There shouldn't be a gray area when it comes to that. But that's another common question that we're like, I don't really know how that's supposed to work because it's not in the rules and regulations. So that's another thing I would like to have clarified, that regardless of the situation, the fee is applied or not. And if it's not, why? What are the scenarios so that we can handle that?
We can't have a minister of water just
Right.
arbitrarily deciding.
Yes,
I think this
it's
person
bad
really won't
practice
pay.
because then you get those people that come in and they're like, well, you treated this person different, or last year I didn't have to do this and now you do. And so I would like to have that black and white so that we can operate the office, as office staff.
And I think it's always good for it surprises me that something like that has not been in writing.
Yeah.
And I think it's incumbent on the city to get that in writing, because that it is as fair, fair is relative to a certain degree, but that it is fair
Yeah.
for the entire community to know what those rules are, because you can't follow them if somebody can just yank it out from under you. So, no, I agree, Brad. I think that's a decision that the commission and the city needs to make as far as to get this stuff in writing to, again, for the sake of everyone, staff, city government officials, and the public to understand what their responsibilities are and what they need to do.
Right, this is how
Yeah.
it operates, yeah.
Yeah.
So I can draft something up for the next meeting and we can take a look at it and see what you guys want to tweak or if you're happy with it.
That would be good.
I have additional ones. So, we also have somebody that comes in, right?
95 theses of Brad Cook.
They're all questions.
Nail it to the
This
door.
is all
sorry.
from actual experience.
I believe you. I appreciate this work. It's needed to be done for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're willing to shoulder it and get through it.
Yeah, the questions come up every month, and I want to bring it over here every month, but I haven't had time to put the data together to really support it. So I'm just starting it now, and I'll get the data later because it's the way I need to do it. If a customer comes in and pays their balance, right, but they don't have the $40 fee because they didn't actually get a bill with that $40 fee applied because it hasn't been applied yet, right? It gets applied after the shut-off day starts. So they come in upset. Well, I brought in what I had to for my bill. I don't have the $40. Do we turn them back on and let the $40 ride till the next month? Or do we require the $40 to be paid before the water is reinstated? The ordinance, I think, would say that it would be it'd have to be paid before reinstated on pretty much all of our other rules. So that I don't know how to answer. I like to think that if somebody came up with everything that they could and couldn't quite swing the $40, or they had cash that they borrowed and didn't have the 40, my heart says we should turn it on. But the rules should really tell me how we operate that, right? Rather than every one of us having, a heartfelt tug every time somebody comes in. You know what I mean? I want to just operate the office. It's a job. They shouldn't have to try to make that decision every time, right? There's also, just so you know, anything under $25 doesn't make the shut-off list. So if they happen to be just that they missed something or they didn't get their fee paid because it was on auto pay, if it's under 25, they don't make the list. It gets cut off. So just to let you know, that's the situation there. Little side note.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough
That's
one.
tough.
And we have to make it like every day, right? And depending on who you get at the counter, you could get a different answer, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's fair either, right?
The old
For the
vinegar
employees
and
or
honey,
the customers.
philosophy.
Yeah. So that's another one that we should address. And again, I can try to draft something up and then we can talk about it later.
Yes.
And then the other one that's kind of a big question for me is we also have sewer-only customers, which we cannot shut off. Well, we can, but we don't because it would take an astronomical amount of work. Many of these people are in Clinton Township who already are not huge fans of the billing office. But this fee is no longer a shut-off fee, right? It's a non-payment fee, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of people that don't pay that sewer only because they know it can't be shut off. That often leaves landlords stuck with it, and it almost always has to be liened, right? And I don't have the percentages, but it is a pretty big number. should they be getting a $40 non-payment fee? Because as of right now, that's not the practice.
We provide them a service,
There should be a thing.
yeah,
Should be a fee.
and they don't pay, and there's no reasonable way to shut off a service like that, then that is the only recourse.
Yeah, I don't believe that's fair that somebody that's, has water and sewer has to pay that fee, but then somebody that doesn't
Then
have
somebody's
it,
absolved from
and they
it.
know you can't shut it off, so they're just like, yeah,
Aha, gotcha.
send it to the taxes, right? Which we do, and it ends up being a year's worth of payments. It's a big chunk.
Right, and you still have an effort to do the lien process, so you're still doing extra work. And then I look at Aaron, he's trying to run high-quality utilities, and it's short funding.
Yeah, you're sure. I mean, you could be up
we
to like
need-
$8,000 that you're
they're
from
just
multiple
over there
addresses, so there's money that's
dumping
not
on
coming
us.
in.
Right, and so then we're waiting almost, half a year, a whole year to get that money back, because it has to accrue, it has to be sent to the county, then the payments have to come back, or we wait till the property's sold.
On the question of liens, so we shut off someone's water, but the service is still there. Do they accumulate $40 non-payment fees? Because it's not a shut-off fee, it's a non-payment fee.
That is a good question. It's
So
another one I
do
didn't
they
add to my
accumulate
list.
month after month after month?
You're-
And at
I
what point
believe-
do we,
You're saying if they're shut off and not turned back on.
Right.
correct,
If they remain off. So right now,
They
if you remain off, there's still a minimum of 0 to 4 units that we still bill. If you're shut off for non-payment, you're still getting a monthly bill.
Right.
It's still going to accumulate. So we do get customers that are like, my water's been shut off for 2 months. Why am I still getting billed?
Yeah.
Because we have an ordinance saying you have a minimum bill regardless.
yeah, and they're not
We
paying.
do have an option. If you're paid up
Right.
and you're remodeling a house or you're moving out of town or going abroad, you can have your water shut off for $75 if you're paid up. If you're not paid up, then you have to pay up and pay your $75.
So I'm thinking of a landlord situation again, or they're just deciding to be negligent. So they rack up, 6 months of these fees that, baseline bill, $40 non-payment. Do we file a lien on that individual?
We should.
Yeah.
We should.
We should.
Absolutely, we
Yes.
should.
And
Yes.
we've waived those here recently. We've waived some of those because they weren't aware, So it's when we get that in black and white and it's in the rules, then the commission has something to say when somebody comes and talks. Like, hey, this is the rules. This is how it's set up. So I think it's best to have that.
So that's not in the rules either?
Well, so basically,
that is.
That
if
is.
it's less than
That is.
$500, Brad's office has the authority to make that decision. If
Okay.
they've racked up above 500, like our gentleman this morning, he was requesting a $5,000 refund, that has to come here by
Right.
by
Right.
So even though I have permission for up to 500, typically if it doesn't fall within the rules, then I will not do it.
Right.
Now, the only time that really that I think comes into play is if we had an issue that was at the city's fault, right? If we had a meter read issue, then sometimes I think there's reason to
Yep.
waive that, or something of that nature, right? But typically, if it doesn't meet the black and white rules, then if they want to argue, then they'll still be coming over here for less
Yeah.
than 500. So.
I think that's
Because I
good
don't think that I'm not the judge and jury, so that's not. I don't want to take that role.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I want.
No, and you shouldn't.
Yeah.
No.
So that makes it easier for me to serve customers and stay friendly and try to keep the name of the office decent because we're just employees trying to do our job like anyone else.
So is there ever a time when you have a lien on a property? I don't know, just say it's $20,000.
Sure.
Crazy, right? A lien for not paying their water bills, not paying their sewer bills. Is there a time to where that could be forced into, I guess, receivership?
Not by us.
Not by us?
So
Okay.
the process would be, again, it would be in Clinton Township.
Right.
Typically with sewer only. Got people rack up large bills. The county has an order of collection. So if you say you owe $10,000 and you pay 500, they pay the line items on the real estate tax in a certain order that the
Right.
county's established. So at a certain point, they will, I think it's the Board of Revision, come together and make decisions on which properties would go to tax foreclosure.
Okay.
And that would be through the county prosecutor, the sheriff, and the
Treasurer.
treasurer.
Okay. Then they've already got a line of who gets paid first.
Right, so then if the property sells for less than taxes,
Yeah.
then there was an order,
Right,
and I think we're sort of in the middle. We're not,
okay,
we're not first and we're not last, but yeah, there's an order of how it's paid out.
okay.
Okay. I know we're kind of running out of time. Are we able to continue? I have a couple of, this one's done, other than I wanted to kind of share you some of the.
Lightning round.
What the girls get called in mine often are
Well,
monsters,
maybe you skip that part. but-
crooks.
Yeah, good.
They often say we're stealing from them.
Right.
There's a lot that those guys
Sure,
take in the
they take a lot,
office.
yeah.
And applying these rules and kind of making it black and white, I think will at least make them feel better about enforcing the rules, right? But we get a lot of grief, a lot of mistreatment. Okay, so can we get that pulled back up? Do you think? Can you unshare and then reshare? Slide down that top right corner. I want to be able to share some of that, and then just hit that, and then, yeah.
See it, operational time from network.
Sorry, more technical difficulties.
We only have a free license for that, so get 15 minutes.
Okay.
Gotta put a quarter in. Let me put a quarter in there.
I have copies of it.
Okay. Yeah, but I don't.
Yeah,
have
it
in
also
front of me.
vibrates the chairs when you.
That's okay. What's
Take as
next
long
on
as
the
you
list?
want,
Is it the? Yeah. I'm gonna try to make sure we're following that. Okay, that was what. Okay. So if you scroll down to that first page after the.
This page. I'm really
Go
good.
down to the. One more.
This
Okay.
one, yeah.
So this is the one I was going to try to bring up, just to quickly go over this. So I went through and I analyzed 2023, and in that sheet, I think you guys all have the handout. Do you need one, Justin? Okay.
Yeah.
It's a little bit tough to read because the way I'm trying to put it together, I had to like think the whole thing from the ground up, right? I don't really have I'm going to build something that we can keep bringing that looks the same for you guys, so it's easy to understand. We don't have to explain it every single time. But basically, the column on the left is how many times this account was shut off throughout the year of 2023, right? So the top ones are 11 times. So all but 1 month of 2023, they've been on the shut off list. Okay, there's only 2 accounts that are like that. And then as you go down, you can kind of see. The one thing that I found a couple of interesting things, right? So the total amount of customers that have been on the shut off list is actually 535. Out of those 535, there has been 1,294 shutoffs on 535 accounts, right? So there's a lot of repeat. That's what that kind of tells you, right? The other interesting part is that there's only 251 that have been on the list once. So that's your first time I'm paying the water bill in Mount Vernon, or I didn't receive my first bill. It was a legitimate accident. I think you could fall under that. One time we've probably all paid a utility bill late once, right? So I would exclude that from my calculations. It's half of the people on the list, right? What happened to my dollar amount? Oh, 51. Sorry, I thought that was dollar sign. So that total fees, had none of them been waived, because I didn't go back and actually pull the total fees, I actually just did the calculation off the number, would be $51,760. That's how much it would have brought in, right? Then out of our total amount, right, we have 60, so for the month of December, there were 6,614 accounts being billed for water, just water, not sewer. Those are water only accounts. 1.63% of those would be your average on the shut off list a month. So we talked several times. I think we done the number 80% of repeats, right? And if you look at your one-time shut-offs, it's almost 20%. So 80% was actually a pretty good assumption. So Tanner, I wanted to help you out with that. Sometimes we do assume right or close. So those were kind of the statistics that I came up with. I don't have previous years yet. I have to pull these off of a manual list that we created because our system doesn't do it for me. And I will work on those. I just kind of ran out of time. I'll try to go back and get the last at least 2 years. So we hit that change point.
Question about this, do you have a breakdown? Are these privately owned homes or these rental properties?
I have not done
Is
that
the landlord,
breakdown.
is the landlord of the property responsible for paying the bill
They are.
for some of these? Because
Well, they are, but they typically don't get involved until it goes to lien, right? That's another thing I'd really like to talk with landlords about, right?
Right.
The city doesn't manage rentals.
right,
All right, that's a common misconception. I think a lot of landlords think that we should be managing their accounts by telling them these things and that, right? So I think what we should, which is my opinion, I think that what we should be offering is a duplicate bill to them for them to watch their bill, not for us to. So
But-
I don't have an obligation if your tenant is 3 months behind to tell you that they're 3 months behind, right?
Right, well, I guess my question is I just didn't say it right, is some of these that aren't being paid, is that a landlord not paying where they include utilities in their rent, in their rental agreement with the owner, with the tenant?
It would be really tough for me to say that.
Okay.
I would have to go through each account and kind of identify what situation it's in.
We've had that happen a few times where the tenant's shocked that the water's turned off and it's like, I paid my rent. But
Yes,
Right.
it does happen.
it does happen. I mean,
Off of my assumption, I don't think that's a high percentage.
yep.
Yeah, because I just did some real quick math here where you're talking. You know, when you get it 5 times on shut-off lifts and above are only 69. That's only 69 accounts. So if you're at the shut-off list for 4, only 119 of that 535 aren't catching up. It kind of goes in line with what you were saying earlier. I was just doing what you were talking about. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it grows quickly.
Yeah.
When there's fewer people that are more habitual than not.
Correct. There's very few that are maybe caught in that seriousness of that issue. But the additional statistics and information you'll bring in sometime will be good.
Yeah, I think what that'll show is what if we've made changes. I'll try to track the dates down on when the changes were made and see how that affects the
I'd also
graph.
like to know, and I know that we're just overloading you with
Yeah, sorry.
these data points,
Go
but
ahead.
where in the calendar that it would fall? Because, while it may seem like they're not caught in that cycle, you could potentially get out of it and then fall right back into it too. It can be cyclical. The cycle may seem like it's broken and then they fall back into it because of the way that,
Yeah.
income works.
So that type of information would be best for us to collect as the month goes, right? We would need to keep, because if you try to go back and look at that at a year, you're talking an astronomical amount
Yeah. Oh, no,
of
yeah.
effort and collection, because we don't have a system that helps us with the analytics.
Sure.
They don't care about analytics, trust me. They just care about getting billing out, and that's
Well,
Yeah.
Brad, let me throw this out there. So we have 2 Kenyan students. One is a summer help, one is an intern, that are specifically for processing data. And they just emailed me that they need a new assignment. And they're in probably getting close to finals. So I think if it's something we can, I think we need to make this a priority. Maybe I can assign my 2 folks, my data analytical folks, to you.
I would love to have the help. I think the challenge will be for me to show them where to get the data from, because I have to find it myself. And oftentimes I have to go and find it and I'm like, oh, I found it. I found the Easter egg. You start processing and you're like, oh, this isn't right. Or there's something that we have in the system so when we put our new system in, we put it in during COVID, right? It was an upgrade. I don't think it was much of an upgrade.
Let me replay that for the camera.
So the problem is whatever
I point you
upgraded,
to our requisition.
yeah,
software.
whatever upgrade they didn't teach us how to use it, right?
You can quote me on that.
So I need to get them back in. We have one good service desk guy that's amazing, and every time I call him, he helps me get through that problem. But the way we've defined our accounts, whether it's a commercial account, a church account, right? Is it rental? We didn't define that because we just took the data we had in our old system, we moved it over, and it wasn't there. So we would literally have to go back through every single account, identify what they are, put them in that, so that I can pull that data out and look at things like, are these rental properties? I don't know. I have to go in account by account and try to figure that out. Our old system, we
Well,
used
there
to
are only
put-
6,000, Brad. Why are you complaining?
Yeah, I know.
Not
I know.
including
Well, you got to find it
more,
first.
yeah.
Then you have to go through
Lazy.
and analyze one by one. So
geolocate it.
my objective, or what I think is more important, is getting the data corrected in the system so that then the analytics become easier, right? Some of these things that I think are really important, I've been just tackling, right? Because there's no other way to get it done, because billing's going to start up again next month, and I'm going to be busy with that, right? So I get a week and a half that I can kind of work on a project, and that's about it. The rest of the time, it's pretty solid busy with trying to get the next billing month done. So I am trying, and I will try to get some of that data the way that we want to see it. And I would like to start kind of bringing reports so we can actually see what the heartbeat looks like and how things are operating, so we can make better decisions on that information, right? Right now, we just don't collect it in the right way. So that's my goal. And I would be happy to talk to somebody, Brian, if I can get the data if I can get it to this point and then let them finish from here would be great. I just don't know when the best time for me to work with them will be. We'll have to kind of schedule that. 'Cause
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think they're coming up on winter break and finals, so it might be something we can schedule.
Yeah, so when we start printing bills one day and they quit gluing, then the director, myself, and the whole crew is licking and sticking stamps and trying to get the process out. It never stops. We always get it
Oh,
out.
yeah.
But sometimes it takes more time than others. So, okay. So do you guys have any other questions about this? I can try to work on this a bit, and I'll add some of the information that we talked about earlier, Mike, and to this paper too, because I think that's a good metric to see. And I didn't think about it when I was putting it together. Can you go down to the next slide? I don't know if we're there yet. No, not that one. Okay. So what was the next thing on the list? I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. Thank you. Okay. So the bill printing and stuffing. So this is one of those things where I'm hoping to free up some time to work on some of these other projects. And at my delight, everybody told me that this would cost too much money and that we shouldn't do it. But when I started looking into it, we can actually save money and reduce cost and improve our service to the community.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
So
I thought we already did.
we talked about it, but I hadn't picked on a company.
Okay.
So I come back and I want to go with a company called InfoSend.
Sure.
The last two, there were three. The last two were very competitive. When I called back to get more information, they both lowered their price more without me even asking. So it made it
That's amazing.
difficult. I had to go back through and reprocess everything again, and so it's been difficult because I found two really good suppliers. I mean that doesn't happen very often, right?
Yeah.
So I'd like to go with InfoSend, and their rate is just, they're beating everybody. That's like 13.5 cents per mail piece, right? Which is, I can't do it for that. So I know this is really small, and I'm sorry. I think it's in your packet.
Yeah.
You'd probably be able to see it a little.
No.
You added it after.
I'm sorry.
That's guaranteed for 3 years, correct? Right?
It's 3 years, yeah.
Does
So
it
the
go
only
after
thing
the-
that should go up
other than an email?
for the 3 years will be the U.S. Postal.
Postage.
Yes, they can't control that. We can't control that, and we get a reduced rate for pre-sort mail, but they're doing so much more volume, and they're actually serializing, which we can't. We don't have the capability of doing. So they're getting that's really where the savings is happening. They're getting a mail rate that they don't mark up that we can't touch. And that's
Serializing means printing the barcode.
yes. So this company, well, both companies, they both were so close. It was so difficult. They both barcode for pre-sort for U.S. mail, so U.S. mail equipment can actually read and sort. It also can come with first class tracking. So 93% of all the bills that we send out, we'll be able to see when they were delivered to the house. Right? We'll be able to see if it gets lost. We'll see it. Like we'll see that something happens because we often get calls. I didn't get my bill. You know. So we'll have that report, which is something we've never had. We'll have perforated bills, which is a huge complaint. The girls have gotten really good at ripping it off at the edge of the counter. I still haven't mastered it yet. Mine are a little jumbled, but that's another reason why I think some of the people pay the way that they do. They come in and pay instead of mailing because we haven't made it easy for them, which increases our workload in the office because we have to do all of our mail. Right?
And there's a return address or envelope in
Yes.
the.
So you get a perforated bill with first class tracking. You'll get a return envelope that's windowed. So all you gotta do is drop your slip in, your payment, send it in. We can customize the bill because our bill is very plain and doesn't leave a lot of room. If we want to make any changes, add any information, it's very difficult. With this company, we can add and take away information pretty easily as long as we do it within a time period for them. So I think there's really no reason not to do this. It's gonna save money all the way around. Our stuffer's starting to have some issues. It's at the end of life. You know, they recommend every 5 years. We're at 6. We also print an astronomical amount.
How much is a stuffer?
A stuffer is like 12,000 for the same one that we have. If we tried to do any improvements, like a return envelope, because it's not capable of doing it, it would increase the cost.
And how much? I can't really see, but
Yeah, so I'll
how much is a
It's not
just
in-
round figure? How much is a contract?
I
for-
do have that one.
So you said it was 13 cents a piece.
So I have the monthly. So you guys, I do have handouts. And you don't have the handout for this, right?
Nope.
I'll give you the handout. I know it's small and I apologize, but I was trying to fit as much information on it as possible.
Great.
So this does have updated rates on it.
Thank you,
The
sir.
last one that we brought was a little more expensive. So InfoSend's the one in the yellow. The monthly cost for operating that will be $3,222.61. Now that's without any additional flyers or anything on the back. There'll be a little bit of a cost for that. They also produce a PDF for us. So because our billing system doesn't make the bill anymore, we just send them data and they create the bill on their end. They'll be sending us PDFs so that we can reprint bills and things like that, and it'll get applied to Invoice Cloud from them, not from us. So they take care of that whole process. So that'll save us a good amount of time.
Brad has several examples of other
Yeah. So
municipality bills over there, and they're sharp. You can customize.
yeah, if you'd like to,
Yeah.
here's the packet they sent me with examples if you'd like to look through what we can have. There still is a slight addition to color, but they can print color a lot cheaper than we can. So we can start out with black and white, but as you've seen Aaron's presentation, color does help people understand things, right? So I know that there's a bit of cost to color, but I think for us to print color in our office was like $50 additional a month. There's not a lot of cost to printing color, and if you get a lot of gain out of it, I think that printing color can be beneficial. At the least, InfoSend offers a bicolor. So at least we can put something in red. So we can have black, but we can put the important stuff in red. That
no
is
additional charge.
Yeah. Well, there's a slight addition, very minimal for that, and then full color is still not a lot of jump for that.
Over here on current in-house cost, when it says not possible with current equipment, so 36909, what does that mean?
That would be if we were to try. So we would, for us, just the cost-wise to purchase the return envelopes. That's what it would cost us just to purchase them. But we can't actually even do it because we don't have a machine that could stuff it.
Sure. So have you amortized the cost of the stuffer?
The stuffer replacement is built into this cost.
Okay.
Not for an additional functionality, just the one that we have.
Sure.
Not including the envelope and the.
Right.
All right. So,
So even if we weren't to make our process better, even if we were to send out all the same stuff that we do now without any improvements,
right.
they're still doing it cheaper than us and adding all those improvements.
Ooh,
And the cost you have here is for a clean printing cycle, no overtime on your part or your staff, or
Yeah, this will, yeah, you'll see I also have I have the time in there. 30 hours of manpower is an estimate. It's probably higher than that. If you have any problems, it's most definitely higher than that, right?
I noticed since I've started, Brad spent many a night over there for
The whole staff has, yeah. We've all been there late a couple of nights if there's printer issues or if the stuffer's not working. We get the bills out no matter what we have to do. It happens, but this process basically we run our billing process. Our software does all the calculations. I won't bore you with all of that. It spits out a file that says, hey, this is how much is due, and this data file gets sent to them. They plug it into their system. It builds the bills. They send us a random 50 count to review, to make sure that any notes that we put in for everyone are correct and that everything's lined up. We sign off on that. They start printing. It's in the mail in less than 2 days. So they're actually going, potentially, the start might be about the same, but there is the potential for them to have those out before we can have them out.
All right. Well,
I
I've
make a
seen
motion.
enough.
Yeah, I make a motion that we accept this. It's a cost-saving effort.
Wait, I have a question. Right, you said you called them back and they lowered the price.
Yes.
Without even.
Have you called
And
him back again?
Didn't even
Did
ask.
you try hanging up and calling back again to see if we could compound
Act
that?
infuriated and get it
Yeah.
low.
Yeah.
If businesses and people would just give the honest, fair pricing up front, we'd make quicker and easier decisions for everyone.
Well, I think the way they explained it was that our volume actually ended up coming in slightly higher, so they gave us an additional volume count was how they explained it.
So you're saying.
Leave it in your cart for 3 days, and then you'll get a 10% discount. All right.
I'm gonna second the motion, and then now I'm gonna ask a question. You have parentheses says 692. Is that the mailings? What's the
60.
692?
Is that supposed to have a 0 on the end?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry.
Okay, that was like. Okay, I understand. Yeah, it was like I know
5,500 to 6,000.
Yeah, so the difficult part is that when they give you a quote, they all quote it differently. Their terminology is different, their cost package is different, what they charge you for is different. So what I did to come up with these numbers was I took our billing from, I think the month of, was it August? I think it was the month of August. So I took our actual billing and I ran it through their cost structure to get these numbers. That was the only way I could get an apples to apples comparison. So that's what I did. So this isn't going to be the exact every month, right? But this is what it would have cost us to run this in August.
So I'm gonna also ask for clarification. We're voting on the use of InfoSend Are we naming it, or are we putting that up to the assistant director's discretion?
As far as I think, because I did get to finish my motion, but for the info center,
Yeah.
if this is the one, my understanding is the recommendation is to go with info center.
I think so, yes.
So if the recommendation is to go with info center,
Yeah.
I would make a motion that we go with info center.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to go with InfoSend to handle our billing.
Okay.
So there's your clarification.
Mailing. Say mailing. Mailing of billing.
It's print
Mailing of
stuff
billing.
in mail.
Yeah, yeah. Mailing of billing.
Okay, that's
Maybe
fantastic.
if I could get it right, that would
Thank
help.
you for your support on that one. I appreciate it.
Yep. Clerk may call the roll.
Mr. Sire,
Yes.
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Mr. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
All right. And now,
We can make this last one kind of quick if you like.
yes.
No, not at all.
I'm sorry that it's
Too
taken.
much fun.
I guess there's two. The future shut-off fees and process, we've talked a lot about it already. I think Aaron covered some of my findings. I actually called around to a lot of places around us, a lot of water companies and billing, to ask them kind of what they do and what their results were, right? Because we've been looking at whether the price stays at 40, whether it goes up. I also, and Brian asked me to kind of to get a feel around the office. So just to quickly, some of the office members, I won't say that all of them, think that actually not turning the water back on same day would improve, because instead of hitting them in the pocket, right, so to speak, you're making it a little more uncomfortable for them. They have to go a whole day, right? Which a lot of other water companies do the same. Other ideas are, most of them said they thought that raising the price wouldn't show an improvement. That's what they told me. This is just a clerk that I talked to at each place, so I don't know. You take that how you would like. Many of them require a payment in full, so they have to pay the entire balance. They can't stay behind. They have to pay the whole balance and get caught up to get their water turned back on. You know, we talked about what that would mean for some people. It's a big chunk of money, right? The other thing was, sorry, I have to catch up on some of this. I kind of drew a blank. Newark. Newark requires a deposit for a new water account, and they will obviously use that money towards a bill that doesn't get paid. To get your water turned back on, you have to reapply the deposit. The deposit has to be put back in place before your water can be turned on. So you have to pay up in full and your deposit. If they have consistent users of water, pay their bill on time all the time, 12 months of successful on-time payments gets you your deposit back to you. That gets credited to your account and it gets used. The deposit doesn't stay.
That's a good idea.
So I think there's some that doesn't quite hit the pocket as hard, at least not over and over and over again. So I kind of like that idea as well.
Would you have the capability to track? Or Curtis said.
We do. There is a deposit option in our system, and I'll have to do some work to find out if a lot of times it says something but doesn't do it. So let me make sure. But I think that would be something that would be capable.
We have a lot of new development coming. If we were going to consider something like this, I think this would be the time to seriously consider it
Yeah.
with new customers coming online.
Right.
It'd be hard to retroactively ask for a deposit, but
Well, maybe during shut off. I guess it depends on how you would
Sure.
write. I mean, but again, you're kind of hitting people when
But
they're
then,
down.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't, I'm not, I don't know the answers. I don't think anybody really knows the answers. But those are just some of the ones, the highlights of what I had heard that I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
So, Apple Valley, well, let's say Knox County. Knox County specifically said that raising that price didn't impact because they would have customers. They do a day. You have to. It's 24 hours. You're out. We're not going to come back on and turn it back on. We're doing all of our shut-offs. Then we do our turn-ons. They thought that actually was the biggest improvement. They said that they often have people offer to pay more money to get their water
get it
turned back on.
turned
Like, I'll give you more, just I want it back on. So like for them, money wasn't the issue. It just kind of depends on where your demographics are, right?
sure.
So those are just some thoughts to go with our conversation since I missed the meeting last time. And then the last one's pretty easy. Can you go back to the adjustments schedule? Or, I'm sorry, do you guys have more questions about any data collected? I can provide that.
We can talk more at a later date. Well, we're getting close.
I'm trying to rush now because I feel pressured.
Not all of us are trying to dodge 7 kids.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a bit about the lien process. So we did finalize and get our liens sent over. They had to be over by the end of the month, November. And the total amount that we sent over is on the adjustments list. I did try to analyze that and show you what was what, but we've had so many things come back from them that we had to make some adjustments on that my numbers just weren't accurate. So it was $76,993.76 in total that got sent to the county for certification. We've had a few get kicked back because county didn't have, my understanding is the county didn't have the site updated and some of those properties have changed hands, so we couldn't apply that lien towards that. So there are some adjustments coming back. It is a bit lower now, but that was the total amount that we came up with. Now this is because we went 2 years essentially without doing any lien process, so we didn't have the knowledge to get it done. So after this, we're building a process right now. It should be every 6 months and stay on schedule. So I just want to give you guys an update on that.
Thank you.
With that,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Entertain a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we are adjourned.
Note that John is not allowed to vote.
I would like the record to show that the last meeting was so short because he wasn't here.
He works so hard and brings up good things to discuss.
Yeah, I mean,
I do really
we
like
had a
that.
shorter agenda also. I mean,
Yeah.
we had, the two of us had less stuff
I
too.
didn't know why it was so short last time. Now it makes sense.
I'm continually shocked that so many things aren't